Hi everyone, in this video of Accelerated Chess Dragon, we're going to be looking at another famous rook endgame. And this endgame is known as the Philidor Position. The Philidor Position was named after Francois-André Denikin Philidor, who was a famous French player of the 18th century and who studied this. The Philidor Position is somewhat like the Vancura Position in the sense that you need to play actively rather than passively if you want to save yourself half a point. So without further ado, let's see how to defend this position and also some mistakes that you should try to avoid. So let's first look at what to play and then what to avoid. So here, if we assess the position, we can see that black is ahead by one pawn, but it's somewhat hard to push this pawn because of the tricks that white has in this endgame. So black plays rook to b2, not really worrying about the pawn at the moment, and now white plays rook to c3. Just waiting to see what black could possibly do. Rook a2, and now rook b3 by white. Again, just waiting. And now e3. Black is trying to push his pawn ahead and maybe try to bring his king to f3. And if the king gets to f3, then that is just going to be an overwhelming advantage for black. So here, white plays rook to b8. And with this rook to b8 move, white is trying to get behind the pawn and play something like rook to f8. Maybe start checking the king, because the king has no shelter. The king is way exposed to all the checks that white can possibly give. So here is how it could go. King f3, rook f8 check, king e4, rook e8 check, king f4, rook f8 check, and let's say that king e5 was played. King g5 also is going to be a drawn position after either rook e8 or even rook f3. The pawn will be rounded up and easily won. So king e5, and if your opponent is ever trying to approach your rook with their king like this, king c5, rook c8 check, king d6, rook e8 is going to be played, and the king can no longer defend the e3 pawn. So it'll easily be captured, and then white will easily get a draw. So that is what white should do in a position like this. But there are also some mistakes that white might tend to do. Like in this position, after rook to b2, if instead of rook c3, white plays this rook to a8 move, and this is drawn, but after rook c2, white plays a mistake, like in this position where he plays rook f8 check, this is going to be lost because black can bring his king into e3, and with the king cooperating with this black rook, black can create an overwhelming advantage. And same goes to this position. And we discussed that white is going to play this rook to b8 move, but if white forgets what to play and he accidentally plays a rook b4 check, this could end up badly for him, as after king f3, black is completely winning. He is threatening this rook to a1 check move, and after rook a1 check, he is simply going to be winning, because after the rooks are traded, the king will simply come into this critical f2 square, and after king f2 and then e2, black is going to be winning. Like after rook to d4 is played, there is rook a1 check and then a trade of rooks. Or you could play rook b1 guarding the first rank, but that's no better because after rook to h2, the king will go to d1, and now rook to h1 check, trying to force an exchange of rooks. And after king c2, rook takes b1, king takes b1, black will simply play e2, and black has a way better position. So you just need to be aware of what you should and shouldn't play in a position like this, because it could totally turn the tables on you. So if you want to gain the right idea of how to play the Philidor, the correct idea is just to try going behind the king, and as soon as the pawn reaches the third rank, you will start checking the king infinitely. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, please let me know in the comment section, and stay tuned for more chess.